So do you guys remember that series I did a couple months ago where I was going decade by decade and picking the best horror movie from each year in said decade? Well, I made a mistake. I started with the last 10 years and then I did the 2000s. But there was a 4 to 5 year gap in there that I didn't give my favorite horror movie of each year. So here we are covering the lost years of the 2000s. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nick here from the Lost River Drive-In, and today I'm going to give you my favorite horror film of the lost years of the 2000s, the ones that I have yet to cover. And there's only 4 years to cover here. Now, we're starting with the year 2010, and surprisingly, I was not expecting this to be as strong of a year for horror as it was. So I've got to give a couple shout-outs. First to Piranha 3D. Look, Piranha 3D is my favorite Piranha film. I know it's blasphemy to some people that love the original or even love Cameron's Piranha film. This is my Piranha film. It is so much fun. It is so stupid, but it's also just serious enough to where I'm like, you know what? I can get behind this. I just really love this movie. Insidious also came out this year, and Insidious scared the crap out of people when it came out, myself included. It is a super effective ghost story, and it is a movie that I really struggled with putting on here, but I cannot give it the year of 2010. And then The Last Exorcism, which, you guys know me, those types of movies can really impact me deeply. But a lot of times they're kind of crappy. Well, The Last Exorcism is not one of those films. This is a good found footage possession movie. Let's totally forget the second one exists. Now, having given you those honorable mentions, for the year 2010, it's got to go to Matt Reeves' masterpiece, Let Me In. Now, I know a lot of you guys love Let the Right One In, the original Swedish version, and I like that movie too, don't get me wrong. I have just always preferred Let Me In. I don't know why. Maybe because I have bad takes. I don't know. You guys have at it in the comments section. But this movie is just so good. Look, it's horror in its subject matter, but it's not a scary movie. It's really like a coming-of-age story for two kids. It's a love story at the same time. It makes me sad. I feel for Owen so much in this movie. Like, he's got a terrible home life because his mom is so distant, his dad doesn't care, and then he's just bullied incessantly at school. And it's just like, this kid is so nice. He's such a nice kid, and it breaks my heart. So then, when he gets his vampire BFF, I love that for him, okay? He finally has a friend that actually cares about him and wants to help him and is there for him. He finally has someone that's there for him. And it's great at the end where he says, screw this life, I'm going off with her. I love that. I don't care that he's like 12 years old. You know what? You do you, Owen. So Let Me In is going to take 2010. Look, it's a gorgeous movie. It really, really is. Matt Reeves is just an incredible director. If you've seen anything the guy has done, but you haven't seen Let Me In, you know what you're getting as far as aesthetics go. It is just a beautiful, beautiful movie. Well acted, well shot. I can't say enough about it. I'd be remiss if I did not mention in 2010 also The Crazies. That is an honorable mention. That movie is far better than the original in every conceivable way, and it's one of my favorite zombie movies. So The Crazies also gets an honorable mention for this year. Now, the year 2011 was loaded as well, so I have multiple honorable mentions here. First honorable mention is You're Next. Look, this is one of the only movies I watch around Thanksgiving. I don't know why it feels like a Thanksgiving movie, but it is to me, damn it. This is a great movie. Like, it is a great movie. It is a super fun slasher with a badass final girl. You literally can't go wrong with Your Next. So that's getting an honorable mention. So is Fright Night. I love the remake of Fright Night, simply just for Colin Farrell. He is incredible as Jerry Dandridge. Not to mention, you also get Toni Collette, Anton Yelchin, Imogen Poots. Great cast, great movie. It's just a super, super fun movie. Now, no, it's not as good as the original, but they're totally very different. And I feel like that's why a lot of people liked the remake, because it wasn't exactly trying to be the original film. So that's getting an honorable mention from me. The Innkeepers by Ty West. I have to give this an honorable mention. It damn near almost took the year for me. I love Ty West as a filmmaker. I love this movie. I know it's slow. I know it is a lot of nothingness until the third act of the movie. I happen to love that. There's a lot of build there, and I think that third act payoff is well worth it. I've also got to give a shout out to The Thing, the prequel of The Thing. I know. Some people find that blasphemous. I don't really understand why. I would get it if you were going into it with the mindset that it was a remake of John Carpenter's incredible film, but it's not. The Thing is a prequel that it seamlessly fits with John Carpenter's film. I mean, to the very last frame. I love the dedication to John's film and really trying to match both films up together. They did it seamlessly. I love this movie. I really, really do. Except the overabundance of CGI, but we've railed on that enough throughout the last decade plus. So, what takes the year? My final honorable mention is Paranormal Activity 3. It is my favorite Paranormal Activity film. I absolutely love this movie. I find it to be the scariest, the best story, the best cast, but it can't take the year for me. What took the year for me was Cabin in the Woods. This movie, talk about a love letter to these kinds of Cabin in the Woods horror movies while also being so meta and new and fresh. I adore this movie from the first time I watched it. I remember when the trailers were going around when I was a teenager and I was like, no, that just looks like it's a haphazardly done Evil Dead remake. I have no interest in that. Then when I finally got around to watching it, I was like, wow, that was literally the point. And that's like a third of the movie. That's not even the meat on the bone here. I love all the tropes they play on. They're poking fun at the genre while also really kind of breaking new ground. I love that we get to see a merman kill someone. Bradley Whitford, of all people, he's hilarious in this movie. This cast is great. Sigourney Weaver, ancient gods, like, come on. Need I say more? Cabin in the Woods was such a breath of fresh air at that time, and it really has aged beautifully. I have still wanted to see another movie in this series for a long time, and I think a lot of people have, because there is so much to play with there. There really is. You could do other countries' versions of this, because you couldn't do a direct sequel because of the end of this movie. Or you could do a prequel, whatever it may be. Give us more Cabin in the Woods. All right, so the year 2012 wasn't as strong as the previous two, but there's still a couple honorable mentions here. First, I've got to shout out Sinister. It did not take the crown for me, although I really do enjoy this movie, but I'm someone that prefers the sequel. And I know I'm in the vast minority there, but I just feel like the sequel focuses on the kids, which is the point of Bagul. But the original film is great. Ethan Hawke is great in the movie. It is a really effective, chilling ghost story. Like, I love this first film. I love both of these films, and I'm still banging the table for another one. Next up is going to be VHS. Look, horror anthologies can either be really good or terrible. I don't know if you're ever going to find a middle ground there. VHS is one that's really good. The first two VHS films, I have not seen any after Viral because I hated Viral. And I know I need to see the other ones. But VHS is great. It's a collection of really good stories. Like the first one, I Like You, that's creepy, dude. Like that is creepy. That always creeped me out. Like, no thanks. VHS is a really, really solid anthology movie. But Maniac. Look, I'd be remiss if I didn't give it to Maniac. I just talked about Maniac on a video I did a couple days ago. Maniac is one of the greatest remakes I've ever seen. Period. Point blank, bar none, no argument. This movie, you don't even need the original, honestly. And that might be blasphemous to some people, but I don't think you do. They modernized it in such an effective way while being enough of its own thing that I would never feel the need to go back to the original with having this Maniac. I just love it. Elijah Wood is incredible in the role. The effects are great. The direction is top notch. I love the music. I love the tone. Everything about this movie is yes, yes, yes. If you have not seen the remake of Maniac, what are you doing? It is an incredible movie, and it absolutely takes the crown for the year 2012. All right, 2013 was loaded, so let's just start firing off honorable mentions. Dark Skies. I love Dark Skies. It is an incredible alien film. I've just always loved alien films. This one is one done right. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. Oculus. My guy, Mike Flanagan. This is probably near the lower end of his filmography for me, but it's still a really solid movie, and it's effective. It makes you think. World War Z, a movie I still want to see a sequel to. I adore this movie. This movie kicks ass. It is not your typical zombie film, and I love it for that. Also, The Conjuring. Look, you guys probably thought I was going to give this year to The Conjuring. There is absolutely no way I could give to The Conjuring in good conscience with the one I'm going to talk about. Having said that, though, I have railed enough about how great The Conjuring is throughout my life and my time on YouTube. It's incredible. It was terrifying the first time I saw it. VHS 2, which is better than the first one. This is even better than VHS. This has the best collection of stories, in my opinion, of the VHS films that I have seen. You got to check it out if you haven't seen it already. And Carrie, the remake from 2013, another remake that I really enjoy, and I really don't care what anybody has to say about it. I think that this movie is a blast. It is a great modernization of a classic tale. I think Chloe Grace Moretz kicks ass in this movie. It is such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Okay, those are all the honorable mentions. There's probably more, but we need to get to what took the year. What took 2013? I don't know. A little movie called Evil Dead. That's right. This movie is easily my favorite movie of 2013. It's my second favorite Evil Dead film, and I think it's one of the greatest horror reboots we've ever seen. And I will not stand for it being called a remake, even though I got an argument in my comment section years ago about that. It is not a remake. Ask Fede Alvarez. It takes place in the same universe. Anyway, Evil Dead 2013, you could not have convinced me years before this came out that they were going to reboot it. They were not going to have Ash in it until the very end, and people were going to care, and they're really going to like it. You couldn't have convinced me of that. This was Bruce Campbell's franchise. Well, Jane Levy came in and said, I can carry the load, and she can. For most of the movie, she is a possessed, gross deadite saying the creepiest shit and doing the creepiest shit. And then in the third act, she is a badass of all badasses. And we get one of the greatest finales, in my opinion, in horror films, at least in modern horror films. Evil Dead 2013 is unquestionably the greatest movie of 2013, and I will shout it from the freaking rooftops. So that's it, guys. I covered the lost years that I had not covered up to this point. Now, there weren't as many movies because there weren't as many years, so I made sure to throw in a lot of honorable mentions for you, which is going to be really fun for me in the editing process. But I want to hear down below in the comment section what you guys think of these years that we covered. I'm sure some of the honorable mentions I mentioned are your pick for the year. Maybe some of the ones I mentioned are your pick as well. I want to hear it down below. Please make sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is Nick. I thank you so much for strolling on in to the Lost River Drive-In. But I think it's about time I'd be pulling out.